What you are about to see is real.
And I saw these eyes staring at me, and I got up and ran.
These are actual people telling their true encounters with the supernatural.
I hope no one ever has to go through what I did.
The stories that they have to tell are truly terrifying.
I'll never forget that night, as long as I live.
Hear them tell their tales for the first time. These are the Ghost Hosts.
I had a friend that had been to Huntsville. He loved it. He came out here for work and was just raving about the place, the prison museum, and how hot it was and everything. So when my work had me relocate to Texas, I mean, it was an obvious choice.
So Phil was looking for a house, and being that I was friends with a friend of his, naturally, and knowing the area, I figured I'd help him find a place. And looked around and found a place that was really quite gorgeous. From the outside, it looked kind of small, but man, inside it was spacious, just huge. And it was cheap.
There was a presence, and it didn't take long for me to feel it. I would be watching TV or something like that, and I just hear this slapping, just real soft in the background, and I didn't know what it was, where it was coming from. Turn the TV off, and it would just stop.
I had been over there once or twice, and I had heard it too. I mean, it wasn't, it would sound like there was a sink dripping or something, but you would look and there wouldn't be a sink that hadn't been shut off or nothing. It's just weird, nothing too frightening, but just strange.
Well, we know him through Bobby's wife's cousin, Sharon.
Oh, I'm friends with Phil's friend, Sharon, so I told her about it.
So I'm friends with Drew, Phil, Aloysius, and Leather Gary, and they called me the other day, and they were telling me how they kept hearing this weird slapping sound like on the back of their hand, and it sounded like fleshy or something, which I don't know. But all I could do was try and console them and tell them that it was nothing.
I guess I just ended up trying to ignore the sound. It never went away. Kept trying to tune it out, but it was there. After a while, it just, stopped bothering me. It became normal, Maybe it was something in the house, I don't know. And then, after a while, things went back to normal.
But things didn't go back to normal. If anything, they only got worse for Phillip and his two friends.
So, he was taking a dump one day.
Alright, let me tell the story, man.
You're right, I'm sorry, you tell it.
So, Drew came over earlier that day, and he brought a nice size cheese tray that we were going to snack on while we had a Stuart Little marathon. Just watched the one movie just a few times. And afterwards, I had to go. I had my phone, I was watching some videos on YouTube, and then just staring at the wall, just hoping to go. And I caught something out of my peripheral, and I looked out the window, and I saw these eyes staring at me, and it scared the shit out of me, and I got up and ran.
After that night, Phillip just wasn't the same anymore. He wouldn't go up he wouldn't use the upstairs bathroom for anything. It got to where he was taking a dump in like old coffee containers, Tupperware. Just whatever he could find laying around. It was disgusting. But just it didn't matter to him. He wasn't going back in that bathroom. Wasn't doing it.
Did Drew tell you guys that I shit in a container? I didn't shit in a container. I mean, I used the neighbor's bathroom. I didn't shit in a container.
Oh, the Tupperware he was shitting in? Well, that's everywhere, to be honest. Ain't nobody don't know about that.
The whole city knows about that shit.
I mean, Huntsville's a small town, but word like that gets around. It's too good not to.
The slapping sound got louder that night. Way less subtle, just... And there was this other sound accompanying it. Kind of like somebody was stirring macaroni.
So I get a call from Phil, and he's hysterical.
I'll never forget that night, as long as I live. I was about to doze off at any moment when the slapping started, and it was louder and closer than it had ever been. It was coming from the bathroom. I know it was coming from the bathroom. And then it appeared.
He described it to me the next day as an old man hunched over, pleasuring himself.
He had his penis in his hand, and he was just walking. And he walked up to my dresser and just kind of put one arm on it and leaned over and just kept on pulling on himself. And it all started to make sense, like the noises. It's like he didn't even see me. Like, I just tried to remain quiet and just watch. And the smell. God!
I thought he was pranking me when he told me there was some ghost jacking off in his room, but he insisted.
Well, when I first heard the story, me and Aloysius remembered a tale that was told to us as kids. All right, now Huntsville, being in such close proximity to the prison and the death house, there's more than a few tall tales related, and this reminded me a lot of the tale of Spankin' Larry. See, Spankin' Larry was a peeping Tom who'd escaped from Huntsville prison back in the Great Rodeo disaster of '73, and he made his way through a storm to a backyard, beating it, looking through the window, when a power box came down on his head and killed him. And the tale is that he's been stuck between worlds since then, unable to finish.
Philip had seen enough. The next day, he would contact a spiritual advisor.
Already I'm feeling an angry presence. I'm sensing something up.
Sharon recommended Reverend Connor. She said he had a lot of experience in this kind of thing.
Reverend TIST was my spiritual advisor during my transition.
I could feel the presence right away when I walked into the house. It was a sinful presence. A nasty, smelly, sinful presence. It smelled like angry fist sex. I got to cleansing right away.
So he was walking around the house, going room to room, just burning sage. And when he got to the bathroom, he stopped. And he was quiet for a bit, and he said that he was communicating with the spirit.
You see, most times in a case like this, a spirit will become bonded with a house. We call it attachment in the industry. Think about it like Velcro. We need to find out the unfinished business and separate so the spirit can go on into the other realm. So we just needed to find out what that unfinished business was. Speak to me, Zeno. Tell me your business. Depart from this house and leave this poor man alone.
Reverend Connor, he's a Scientologist.
Show yourself, spirit. Make your presence known to me. Tell me your business so that you may evacuate this man's home. Oh. Well, all right then. Where are you? I spoke with the spirit. He was a man. Former prisoner at Huntsville prison, to be exact. He'd escaped and was pleasuring himself outside the window of that very bathroom where I felt his presence the strongest. There was a bad storm that night. A bolt of lightning struck the electrical box, hit him directly in the center of the forehead, and killed him mid-stroke. It was at that point I realized what I needed to do to help him finish his business and cleanse his house. When I close this door, do not open it. I will kick, I will scream, I will probably cry. I will barter like the devil, but do not open this door. I will open this door on my own accord when the cleansing is finished. And when I do, you'll know your house is clear.
Be gone with you, foul beast! Oh God! Stop fighting! Why is this so hard? Just fucking relax. There it is. I can feel the Lord's grace emerging. Salvation is coming. Here it comes. It's coming. Oh!
Oh, thank goodness, Reverend, is it done?
Lord Xenu works in mysterious ways. But that was a fucking mess.
It was just gone after that, like done. I can't thank Connor TIST enough for this. I can finally relax and enjoy my own home again.
I definitely noticed a change in Phil after that day. He never told me what happened, but whatever it was, it certainly worked. He's his old self again.
I hope no one ever has to go through what I did. But if they do, find a Scientologist. From experience, that shit is legit.
Next time on Ghost Hosts, what do you do when your child's hamster becomes possessed by the devil?